last shift that we learn, we are going to talk about a phase shift, which is the horizontal shift left or right. So if you take a look, it's going to be whatever is inside of parentheses. Inside of parentheses. Okay. Same exact rule. If it says plus C, we're going to move left. We're going to take our graph and we're going to shift it back left. If it says minus C, we're going to take our graph and we're going to shift it to the right. The good news for some of you is that we're going to calculate these 5 values. You're not actually going to have to visually shift it. You're just going to have to figure out what the 5 are. Okay? Once we figure out and calculate the values, we will determine the beginning of the graph and the end, which we will then call the phase shift. Okay? Key idea is that you still need to divide your sine and cosine periods into 4 equal parts. So what I mean by that is, you know when we go to graph this and we always say like the starting value, the end, here, here, and here, we're still going to need 5 key values, divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. That skill isn't going to change, but we're going to come up, calculate what these 5 actually are. So let's look at example 1. Right? Notice I have parentheses, and also notice that what I'm adding or subtracting in this case is going to be in radians. Radians affect the x-axis. This could also be like 25 degrees. I could shift if it was theta in terms of shifting left and right. That is very different than a +1 at the end. A +1 at the end is going to be that vertical shift, that change in y. Okay? Now, let's talk about the period. Vocabulary is the same. The period is the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x? 1. Do I have anything between x and the word sine? No. So my period did not change. So in this case, it's still going to be between 0 and 2 pi. Note that here, b is equal to 1. So just as a refresher from yesterday to go through the definition of how we found the period, we would have taken 2 pi and divided by b, which generated for us the 2 pi back. Now, horizontal asymptote. Did I add or subtract anything at the end? Did I change that center line? No, I didn't. There's nothing being added or subtracted at the end related to y. So in this case, y is equal to 0 will be my horizontal asymptote. Amplitude is always in front of the trig function. So what would you say the amplitude is? 1, very easy, standard sine wave. And then my phase shift is what we're going to calculate. Okay? So I'm going to put a star by this because we are going to calculate this. Right? Now, theoretically, what would a plus pi over 2 do? Shift it left or right? Okay, so this is going to be a shift left. Okay. I have found, because there are so many problems where, oh, well, we have a phase shift, but we have a period change, but we have a period change only, or we just have a phase shift, that to make a universal rule from here on out is going to be the easiest way to do that. So to calculate the 5 different values, tell me what are the 5 original values. Notice up here I said if there's a shift, use the original key values. So if we were talking about pure sine, what are the 5 key values? They start at 0. They go to 2 pi. Beginning, end. What are the 3 in the middle? And 3 pi over 2. Okay? So we're going to make like a little tiny equation chart. We're going to set up the 5 key values, and then we're always going to set them equal to, let me show you, whatever comes after sine that is not a vertical shift. So what I'm going to say is x plus pi over 2, 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 x plus pi over 2. I know that you can think these out very quickly in your head. In these equations, they're going to get more complicated. What do I do when I solve for x? I subtract pi over 2, agreed? So my new starting value now is going to start at negative pi over 2. What do I get when I take and subtract pi over 2 from both sides in the second equation? X is equal to 0. The next one? minus pi over 2? 1 minus 1/2 pi over 2. You'll also start to sense a pattern. 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2, pi. And 2 pi minus pi over 2 is 3 pi over 2. Using this chart, I can now answer the question about my phase shift. My phase shift is the graph is going to start at negative pi over 2, and it's going to continue to 3 pi over 2. Start value, end value. I'm going to use these same green values over here. So I'm going to say this is negative pi over 2. This is 0. Use your spacing. This is pi over 2. This is pi. And this is 3 pi over 2. Right. At this point, the problem becomes exactly like all of the rest that we've done so far. So let's talk about your center line. What is the value of the center line? Y equals 0. So this is going to be a 0 line. When I go to graph sine, how many key intercepts are there? 3. The first, the middle, and the end. What is my amplitude? 1. So from here I'm going to count up 1. Here I'm going to count down 1. So I'm going to go up, I'm going to go down, and I'm going to come